What are college coaches evaluating beyond stats and highlights? And since we've got this, the transfer portal that has really exploded lately, what are coaches evaluating? If you're a high school student and parents listening to this, what could they be doing to have their child evaluated properly beyond the stats and highlights?
I'll give you let's just use my son, because his is still fresh. I'll tell you what they're not evaluating. You know, when Bowling Green asked for tile stats, when it was time to fill out the commitment post,
right.
If that makes sense. The signing post, not commitment. They can't say nothing until you sign. So when it was time for them to sign, that's when they said, give me his stats and his recognition.
Okay.
Because they didn't care about that. They weren't recruiting that. They saw that you could play. They saw that you could make shots. But what most coaches care about now, because now the transfer portal, NIL, revenue sharing, all these things are important. Man, character and mindset are at a premium now. Showing the ability to be stable. If you're a high school kid and you jumped around to 2, 3, 4 high schools, that means you're probably going to leave my college program as soon as something comes up. I don't really, and I know most college coaches say, well, that's just the way things are. But deep inside, if this is my job to take care of my family, I want stability at the job.
Right.
I want stability. So they're looking at your character, man. They're looking at the parents. They're looking at the people. Like a big question that I've gotten a lot lately is, who's their go-to guy? In essence, who's their handler? Who handles that situation? Is it you, coach, and the parents, or is it you and the parents and a handler and someone else? Again, they won't tell you this, but I'll say it. They don't want to deal with handlers. They don't want to deal with people that give them scenarios on what it would take to get this child. You know, they want their recruitment process to be as pure as possible, because they want the recruitment process to be about gaining relationships and trust amongst each other before you come to my campus and I ask you to sacrifice so much for this program to be successful. They're not really asking about stats and highlights. They're asking about character. They're asking about the home life. Well, they're asking about the home life a lot. How's the home life? How is it? How is parents? Are they hollering at the game? Are they acting crazy at the game? Are they just cheering for the team?
Right.
You know, something Tile got a lot was, man, I looked at your son on the bench and he was cheering so hard for his teammates. When he comes out of the game, he's not asking why he's coming out. He's not moping. He's cheering so hard for his teammates. He's standing up. He claps everybody's hands when he comes out. When he makes a mistake on the court, he's not throwing his hands up, blaming someone else.
Right.
Like all those little things. Because believe it or not, college coaches know how to do their job, right? So I can run a system or set to help you be successful within our program. But what I don't have time for is coaching your negative attitude, coaching immaturity, coaching off outside forces telling you why you're not getting shots. So those are a lot of things, man. And it's so different now. So high school kids got to really be on it, because like you got to be mature. You got to be mature physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like you got to be ready, you know. So because they can go in the portal. And I'm going to tell you another secret, and some college coaches are going to get mad at me about this. Believe it or not, a lot of them don't really want to go to the portal.
Really?
Oh, they don't. Think about it. You run your business. You want people coming up through your business that know the system and know the ins and outs that can help y'all keep growing. If you're getting new people every year, you're starting over every year. College coaches are smart. They don't want to have to deal with that. But so many of them are thrusted into that element as a way of survival.
Yeah.
But then let's look at the people that win consistently. Every now and then it could pop up. Coach Staley. She get a transfer here and there, but the bulk of her kids, the bulk of her leaders are program kids.
Right.
UConn women, even though Gino kind of made me mad a little bit when he tried to snap at my girl Dawn, but you know, she said forgive and we forgiven, and bygones are bygones. I got nothing but love and respect for Gino. But like Gino, program kids. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if you go to the men's side, like you talk trash about Duke, but for the most part, they're bringing their kids in. And when you bring in freshmen, in essence, those are your kids because they're adapting to your culture. So a lot of time, coaches have told me out their mouth, Coach, I don't really want to have to go to the portal because a lot of times it's red flag. Now, sometimes great kids come out of the portal. I'm not saying every kid in the portal is a red flag. But what I'm telling you is you got to be careful as a high school kid. You got to be on your P's and Q's because I can go to the portal and get a more mature kid that's already been through the college system. So it's just, the beautiful part about it is it's like the invisible hand, right? In economics, like it makes the market better. because
Yeah.
high school kids got to be better. And now you're only really recruiting the cream of the crop, right?
Right. Right.
So, D2 is better now. D3 is better now. NAIA, JUCO. So it's making everything better. But in the same sense, if I'm a parent and I want my child to be recruited, I got to have all of those intangible things in line, from
Right.
attitude, character, work ethic, because a college coach doesn't have time for that with a freshman.
That's a great point, Coach, because I was talking to someone yesterday who has a child who's on the boys' side, and he's trying to get his son recruited, and he said it's almost impossible. And I said, well, no, it's not. I said, your son can still make waves and get noticed. And he said, well, why would a head coach want a high school player when I can go get a developed, mature physically and mature mentally player and come right in and win, because they have to win right away. And I said, well, on the flip side of that, you could look at it as, I'm recruiting players to come into this system, like you just said, that I can teach and train them how I want the game to be played. And his thought process on that was really negative, in that he didn't see there was any way possible for a high school student to make it onto a college team. But I pointed to Calipari. Calipari is going after, he said out of his own mouth that he's still recruiting high school kids. Now, true, you have to win now. The culture is as such that you have to win, but I agree with you. You have to develop the talent that comes in. You only have a minute, but you can train them to your system, get them used to your format and your system, and you can win that way. So you
I
make,
feel bad for that dad, because I just think he's frustrated.
yeah,
Again, I went through with my own child. Like you said, you got to have that small circle. It ain't even a circle anymore, Brother Strange. It's a dot.
yeah,
Heck with a circle. It's a dot. I don't even want people filling in the voids in my circle that don't need to be there. What I would say to him is, like, obviously, make sure he's putting in undeniable work.
right,
You know what I'm saying? The time you're saying is not going to happen should be moments of work. Put in undeniable work. I've been there. With like in essence, Tal was a late signing if you really, really think about it. And have people on the other side that you trust. That's why it's important to have really, really good grassroots people around them. I'm a
so,
grassroots coach. I had to text Don Staley, and I asked her straight up, like, yo, he has a ton of D2 offers. All of the D1s are saying they'll be back in the spring. Should I trust that? She said, absolutely. Then I text my friend Brittany Anderson at Illinois. She's on Illinois. She said the exact same thing Don said. She was like, we're not saying like he's too good for D2, but we know he would be a prize for any D2 program. So, but what happened was they were just like, just wait, because once that portal hit and once it closed, coaches are still going to be looking for players. They're going to be trying to refill staff. They're going to be trying to get their rosters in order. And that's literally what happened. So before you know it, Iowa was at the house visiting, and we wound up going on an official visit to Iowa. And
awesome.
Bowling Green wound up being the choice, and which was best. But he just got to stay the course and stay patient. I know it's frustrating because I've been there.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
been there. Like me and you've been there.
Yeah,
I've watched
I've
you
been
go through
there.
the process, and me
Yeah,
and my wife was wobbling. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we
yeah,
just eventually had to let go and let God just
that's
trust him. Like,
right.
we're here. But the whole time, I will say this: the entire time, and this goes for your daughter too, because I seen it physically. She was in the gym with me, in the weight room with me. The work
Yeah,
never stopped.
that's right.
Like, as frustrated as Tal, well, actually, Jordan and Tal never seemed frustrated in the process, which was weird. The ones telling us it's going to be okay. Tal told me out his mouth, Dad, if the only thing I got to worry about is where I'm playing basketball at next year, I'm living a really good life. I said,
Smart
dang.
young man. Smart
Right.
young man.
I felt bad about myself after that. I was like, man, your mom in here darn near crying. But the work never stopped. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? So, like, I don't have the offer I work. Keep working. I'm not
yeah.
getting the interest I want. Keep working. And the work never stopped. And that's what I advise, man. Just, if this is something you really, really want, disappointment and adversity shouldn't make you quit, because you
Right,
don't want it. If you don't
right.
want it, if you're willing to give up on it.
Right. And coach, let me ask you, this is a question for other coaches that may see this. As a husband and a father, how do you balance the demands of coaching with being present at home?
Man, so I will be completely transparent, because most people are going to lie to you and give you this glorious answer. There is no balance,
Mm,
right? When you're fully committed to like helping other people's children and helping other men like pursue their goals and dreams of being head coaches that are on your staff, there is no balance. You completely give yourself up for the success of other people. That's why it tends to be frustrating when someone is like, well, you're not doing whoop de whoop de whoop. when
Right.
you're literally putting yourself last at all times. So your family, your wife, your kids become a part of your imbalance. You see what I'm saying? So like with me, my children are literally in the gym with me every day. You just make them a part of your imbalance. You make them a part of your passion. And a lot of people like will say, "Oh, you can't make your kids play sports." I'm not making them. It's
Right.
almost like osmosis. They're in there with me,
Right.
and before you know it, they're picking up a ball. Like so, there is no balance. I'm not going to even lie. When you're trying to be great, there is no balance. You just got to make sure you marry a person, a man or a woman that understands that. Because when it comes to competition, there is no balance. It's not balanced until you retire. When it's all over, and that's why a lot of coaches will be like, you hear athletes say, "Well, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna retire to spend more time with my family." That ain't fluff. Like they mean that. They mean that from the bottom of their heart. I am retiring to spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
That ain't no statement to say just for the media can have something positive to say. Them men and those women mean that thing 100%. So yeah, I would tell young coaches there is no balance.
Yeah.
But the little bit of time you do have, you better make sure you're taking your butt home, spending it with your family. You
Exactly.
can't be hanging out with your boys. You can't be hanging out with your girls. You better be home with your family and giving your wife or your husband and your children whatever extra time you have. And then when you do have time to send your wife off or give your husband a day to themselves, give it to them because
Right.
they're sacrificing just as much as you.
Just like you.
They're sacrificing just as much as you. So don't sell them short. And it's really hard, but there is no balance, man. You just got to make sure your family is a part. It becomes unhealthy when your family isn't a part of your mission.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
like don't isolate them, and
Mhm.
and before you know it, you'll have a 7-year-old son like Leo giving you basketball facts about dudes that played in the 80s. Like,
Yeah.
boy, you weren't even around when you know what I'm saying? You weren't even thought of. What are we
That's
talking about?
good. That's good.
So yeah, there is no balance. You just got to make them a part of your imbalance.
Right. That's good. Good information, coach. Good information. Let me ask you this. Over 20 years of coaching, how has your approach changed as the game and the players have evolved?
I won't say my approach of change has always been accountability, hard work, never claim to be the smartest, you know what I'm saying? But you're not going to outwork me. But I think what has changed is like I've gotten better at things, whether it be from communication, whether it be from being more vulnerable and you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Being able to express yourself. So I think I've changed in the sense of like holding myself more accountable and blaming myself more when things don't go the way as planned. You see does that make
Right.
sense? So that's what I would be because like a lot of times people say, "Oh, children change." No, adults have changed. Children stay the same. They're
Mm.
waiting to learn from the people that are leading them. And
Right.
then when you don't lead them, they learn on their own. And that's when you can have, children straying away or getting off the path. But nah, I don't. I think it's more of like me becoming better at this profession. You
Mm.
see what I'm saying?
Good
Being
point.
a better communicator, being better at making practice schedules, being better at, player development, just stuff like that. Just me bettering myself helps me survive in this
Right.
in this profession.
That's good. Good information, coach. Now, if you could give one message to every student athlete listening today, what would you want them to walk away with about this particular journey that they're on now? Whether they're playing basketball or football or baseball or whatever that is, what would you want them to walk away with today? What would you want to say to them that they should never forget?
Man, I would try to say two things on the non-abstract side to just be straight literal. Be okay with being held accountable. Work your tail off and be realistic with where you are. Because when you're realistic, it's easier for you to accept accountability. Like if you know you can't dribble, pass, and shoot, and your coach is getting on you about it, do it. Don't say this guy doesn't like me. So just work your tail off and be realistic with your accountability. And then last but not least, be okay with pursuing success without fear of failure.
Mhm.
Because if you are afraid to fail, it's really hard to pursue success all out. You know what I'm saying? Like that realtor isn't going to sell every house that they go out to sell for any specific quarter. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you still got to go out just as hard and try to sell that house and try to, reach a clientele, even if you fail. But a lot of people don't pursue success with dire need because they're worrying about they're worried about failing. And
Yeah.
you can't do that because you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to sprint towards failure and not be afraid of it, you usually, believe it or not, you learn, even if you don't sprint by it, you learn how to work through it. And that's all you need to learn how to do. You need to learn how to work through it. And so when you get beat, the other team score more points than you, you're able to look back and be like, okay, they beat us because of whoop de whoop de whoop.
Right.
Instead of just being afraid to fail and then you never learned a lesson. So, yeah.
And to be honest with you, you know, when our child was competing in sports and they would lose, her mom and I would take it harder than she would. She would just bounce back, get better, and keep it moving. And we're sitting there crying. So we have to, you're right, we have to evolve and get better and learn from failure to get better, get stronger, and fix those shortcomings that we all have, and learn how to get better. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to let you go to be respectful of your time here. With the Division I, Division II, and NIA out there, should parents be more open to Division II and NIA programs and let their child develop and kind of dominate those particular areas for the potential to move up from there? Or should they just only shoot for Division I?
All right. So obviously shoot for the highest level, right? You know, reach as high as you can, but then it goes back to that realistic accountability, right? Being realistic with yourself. The schools that are offering you is the level that you are at.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So like I had a few little cheat codes with Tao, because like we had Claflin and then Pembroke came, and then D1s were talking to us the entire time. And then eventually they did what they said they were going to do, started recruiting in the spring. So his situation was a little different, but yeah, shoot for D1. But if you only have NAIA, D2, D3, or you only get an interest from JUCO, that's just where you are. And again, that is called sprinting towards failure. It's okay. You can still move towards success. You were a little disappointed. You didn't necessarily fail, but that's just where you are at the time. And let's go ahead and work to get to the next phase, because it's possible. And heck, even if you stay D2 or NAI, wherever your feet are planted, you know, do it like you're doing it for good Lord, man. Do it like you're doing it for God. And eventually you'll grow from wherever you are.
And I agree with that. And I'm always of the mindset that the education component is invaluable. You get that education. And I say that because I've been in corporate America for so long. And we like athletes. Whenever I see resumes and it's a student athlete that's coming across my desk, and I'm talking to HR, I'm like, you know, let's give this person an interview, because I know with a student athlete, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be focused. They're going to be more of a team player. They're willing to learn new schemes. If they can learn a new play, they can learn whatever program that we're trying to teach them in our particular industry. So let me ask you a final question about what we saw with the tournament that wrapped up, men's and women's side. What were you impressed by on the men's and women's side, and what were you kind of disappointed in when you saw the men and women tournaments?
Men and women, I thought both sides had so much parity, right? Like I thought the parity was unfreaking real. Iowa pushed to an Elite Eight. We saw VCU beat North Carolina in the first round. So like the parity of men and women's basketball is it's beautiful. And I love it. I love it. Like UCLA women winning a national championship. You see what I'm saying? So like, as far as the disappointment side, I really wasn't really disappointed in anything. I think my cup was full as far as like a basketball fan with the NCAA tournament. I think everyone was competitive. I thought the coaches on the men and women's side were fiery, getting after it, trying to get the most out of their athletes. I just thought it was fun. Like we were laughing about Gino and Don, but you know, Don's a big girl. Like, you know, so the crazy part is I didn't flinch. I knew she could handle herself. Like when that happened, and I knew Gino was just caught up in the competitiveness of the game. Yeah. You know, he gave me some of the best advice I ever got as a young coach when I went to one of his clinics, and Don is always there for me. So I'm really excited. Obviously, I got some extra investment in it this year because my son is going to be playing in the NCAA. Right. So, you know, I just thought it was good all the way through. I really wasn't disappointed in anything. I thought everything held up to standards, and I thought it was really good. Really good.
Great. That's great, man. Listen, thank you so much for your time, Coach, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your journey and your heart behind your program. And what you've built isn't just about championships, it's about shaping young men and women, and I'm grateful for that. I've witnessed it firsthand. You help to build their character. You help create opportunities for people that will last beyond the hardwood. And for every parent listening to this podcast, every student athlete that's grinding, every coach trying to build something meaningful, today's conversation is a reminder that excellence is intentional. It's built through culture, consistency, and accountability, and belief as well. Coach Staley, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Great job on winning the championship again, and we're looking forward to great things to come. And before I let everyone go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this content with parents, with coaches, or other student athletes that could benefit from this information. Thank you for joining us here on Recruiting from the Bleachers. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me, bro.
That wraps up another episode of Recruiting from the Bleachers. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to join us next week for another insightful conversation. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube at Recruiting from the Bleachers. Like, share, and follow to keep up with the latest updates. And don't hesitate to leave your comments and questions. We'd love to hear from you. For a deeper dive into the basketball recruiting process, check out our book, Basketball Recruiting, A Parent's Perspective, available now on Amazon.com. Parents, remember, from the bleachers to the big leagues to the boardroom, let's keep cheering and steering our student athletes towards success. We'll see you next time.